Okay, our lesson today is talking about isosceles and equilateral triangle. Before we start, let's watch this video here to tell us about the triangles, about the difference between equilateral and isosceles triangle. Now, yesterday we said that we have three types of triangle based on an angle. The one that has an angle that's greater than 90, we called it obtuse and angle. And this obtuse angle, since it is in a triangle, I will name the triangle with an obtuse triangle. And the other type is we called it right. This angle is not a square. We call it right angle. And this right angle, since it is a triangle, we will name it with right triangle. And the third type is we name it as acute triangle. Acute triangle, that's mean it's the angle. The angles in, or each angle in the triangle is less than 90. Now, and we said also that
Teacher, are you writing on the screen?
no, I'm just talking.
Okay.
Now, and also we say that for this triangle here, we have, did you see the video?
Yes.
Okay. And we have now the two types of triangles based on the angles and the sides, isosceles and equilateral. The isosceles, that's mean each angle here are equal or each side here are equal. And the second one, we called it equilateral. In the equilateral here, we have only, the three sides are equal or three angles are equal. From its name, equilateral, that's mean it has an equal sides or an equal angles. And also here, the isosceles, before that, we say that if I want to draw any triangle, I need a vertices. From this vertex, if I put two congruent sides, here and here, the red one, these two congruent sides, each side I will name it with leg. So for this triangle, we have two legs. These two legs are congruent sides. And the side that connects between these two legs, we called it a base. So here, for this triangle, for this vertex, it has two legs. These two legs are congruent sides, and this side that connects between these two legs, we called it a base. Now, if you look at this leg, the opposite side is this one. For the leg one, this is an opposite angle. For the leg side, or for side one, the angle one is its opposite. And also, for an leg 2, this will be an opposite angle, which is 2. So, also here, angle 1 and angle 2, we will name it with base angle. Why we name it with base angles? Because it is on the base. And the angle that's included between the two congruent sides, between the two legs, we name it with a vertex angle. Now, Let's start now with the first theorem here. In this theorem here, we will now talk about the first theorem and the isosceles triangle. In this one here, he told me that if you have this triangle and in this triangle, if it has a name with A, B, and C, if AC is congruent with BC, if AC is congruent with BC, so, okay, this side, let's color it with a pink. For this side, okay, this will be its opposite angle. The side BC, it has an opposite angle that I colored with pink. And the side AC, it has an opposite angle, we color it with orange one. Now, since now AC is congruent with BC, so because of that, the angle A is congruent with an angle B. So the theorem states if two sides of triangle are congruent, then the angles that opposite to the sides, I mean the pink, which is opposite to BC, and the orange, which is opposite to AC, are congruent. Is it clear?
Yes,
Yes, teacher, it's clear.
Yes, teacher,
Yes,
please.
miss.
So I will conclude now that the angle A is congruent with an angle B. This is our theorem. If two sides are congruent, so the opposite angles of them will be congruent too. Now, let's prove this theorem. In this theorem here, he told me that if you want to prove that the angle, or before that, if two sides are congruent, so its angle will be congruent, you need first to draw a triangle. So first, let's draw this triangle and name it with XY. Name it with X, Y, and Z. So let's name this one as X, Y, and Z. Now, begins with an isosceles. This triangle is an isosceles. It has an XY congruent with ZX. So, since the triangle X, Y, Z is an isosceles triangle, what does it mean, or what I mean by an isosceles triangle? Isosceles triangle, that means it has two congruent sides. Isosceles triangle, it means it has two congruent sides. So XY is congruent with ZX. This is the first XY with XZ, sorry. Because it is an isosceles triangle. Now, I want now to prove that an angle Y is congruent with an angle Z. Let's draw a bisector sides starting, well, that start from X intersect or cut the YZ with with a B. Is it clear now?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. So I now have this triangle. I draw a bisector from X into B. So XB is a bisector of the side XYZ and also bisects the angle YXZ. Now, I told you that if there's a bisector, okay, cut the angle. What will happen with the angle? With this angle? Look at angle YXZ. Look here. Look at the angle YXZ here. If there's a bisector, cut this angle. Okay, grade 8.
Yes, teacher.
Okay.
If XB bisects the angle YXZ, what happened with these angles? Angle A and angle 1 and 2. Let's name it with 1 and 2.
They got into half, so it became YXB.
Thank you so much, Basmala. The bisector cut the angles and it makes them equal. So, because of that, I will say now angle YXB, this angle YXB, this one, okay, is congruent with an angle ZXB. ZXB. This angle is congruent with this angle. Why? Because the bisector, the reason, because the bisectors cut the angle YXZ. And this one it will be given. So here I want now to prove that these two angles are congruent. He told me that, or the question told me that XY is congruent with XZ. And I know now from the bisector that this angle and this angle are congruent. So I have now a side and I have now an angle. Give me another side or another angle that are congruent.
XP and it's congruent to XP because of the reflexive property.
It's
Thank you.
XCS XP because of the reflexive property.
Thank you so much. Look at this side now. Is it reflexive? Yes. So I will say XB is congruent with an XP because of the reflexive property. So now what did I have after that? So by now, what did I have? I have an angle, I have a side, and I have another side. Is it right?
Yes.
So let's now write the here. I will say now as a 2 column. Wait. Here. Now, by now, xy is congruent with an xz because it is given. And xb, we say it's congruent with an xb because of the reflexive property. And an angle yxb is congruent with an angle zxb because the bisector cut the angle yxz. So by now, what do I have? I have a side angle. Is it right?
Yes,
Yes.
teacher.
So can I say that now the two triangles are congruent?
Yes, because the
Yes,
postulate of
because-
SAS.
So the triangle YB is congruent with the triangle XZB because of what?
The postulate of SAS.
Because of SAS. Thank you. So by now I proved that this triangle are congruent with this triangle. Then after that, in the previous lesson, if we have two congruent sides, can I see that any pair of corresponding elements are congruent?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, so because of that, can I conclude now that an angle Y equal congruent to an angle Z?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, miss.
Thank you. So I will say now angle Y is congruent with an angle Z because the triangles are congruent. So now I prove my theorem. So he told me that this side, sorry. So he told me that this side is congruent with this side. Since that they are congruent, so its angle will be congruent too. This is our proof, a theorem. Is it clear now?
Yes, teacher.
Yes,
Yes.
teacher.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Now-
miss.
Yes, teacher.
Miss, can you just keep it again? Just 1 minute.
It's written, Huda, in your book.
Teacher, now you are explaining, right?
Sorry?
Now you are explaining, right?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Now you are explaining, right?
I'm talking about the previous theorem. Okay, this one, the previous proof. It's written in your book.
Yeah,
I mean, don't write it.
Okay.
Okay. Now, here now we have a converse of the isosceles. What's the meaning by a converse of a theorem? That's mean if x is or a is equal b, so the converse of it, that's mean b will be equal a. This is the meaning of converse. If a is equal b, so b will equal a. Okay, like inverse. Here now in the theorem we will have the same. In the previous theorem, we said that if two angles are congruent, if two sides are congruent, their angles will be congruent too. Here now we have the opposite or the converse of them. What does it mean? Here now, if two angles, okay, angle A and angle B are congruent, okay, if these two angles, A and B, are congruent, so their sides, their opposite side will be congruent too. I will repeat. In the previous theorem, we said that this side, it has this opposite angle, and this side, it has this opposite angle. In the theorem 4.3, we said that if these two sides are congruent, so these opposite angles, the white and the orange one, will be congruent too. In this lesson, in this theorem here, which is 4.4, he said that if this angle, okay, this angle, it has this opposite side, and this angle, it has this opposite side. If these two angles now are congruent, their opposite side will be congruent. Is it clear? What's the difference between
Yes,
them?
teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Okay.
Yes, miss.
Sounded very well.
Now, it's a proof now. It's in exercise 23. So it's not written in your book. I break the question here, as you see, which is number 23. And we will now prove it. So let's write with me how we can prove that these two triangles are congruent. Look, see here. Here now, I want to prove, supply the missing information in the statements of a converse of the isosceles triangle theorem. Then write the proof. Here now, you have an angle, a triangle PRQ. In this one, since it is an isosceles, so these two angles, which is angle P and angle Q, are congruent. Is it right? Angle P and angle Q are congruent.
Why?
So, begin with angle P and angle Q. Given angle P is congruent with an angle Q. This one here. Let's say that they are given. Now, so P and Q are given. Let's draw now a bisector RS. This bisector will cut an angle PRQ. Is it right?
Yes, teacher.
So
Yes,
draw
teacher.
an RS, which is a bisector of the angle PRQ. Now, so the bisects RS, it bisects an angle PRQ, angle 1 and an angle 2. So because of that, I will say now angle P is congruent with an angle Q. It's given. And RS, it's a bisector. So it cut the angle PRS into two equal halves. So it makes PRS is congruent with QRS. Is it right? Angle 1 and angle 2. The bisector here is cut. It cuts the angle into two equal halves. So let's make an angle PRS is congruent with QRS because of the bisector. Then who can give me another side or angle that's are congruent between these two triangles?
RS.
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 RS, thank you. RS is a reflexive of, sorry, RS is congruent with an RS because of the reflexive property. So by now, I have an angle, I have another angle, and I have a side. Here, we have angle P, angle Q, angle R. Here we said we have S. Now, we prove now that an angle B is congruent with an angle R. And this angle are congruent with this angle. And this side too. So, which postulate or theorem can I use to say that these two triangles are congruent?
Angle, side angle.
Angle,
Angle side angle. No, angle
Angle.
angle angle
Angle,
angle
angle,
side.
Angle,
yeah,
angle,
angle
side.
side.
Angle
here we
side.
have an angle, and here we have another angle, and here we have a side. Is the side here is an include between these two angles?
Yes.
Yes, teacher.
Is it included?
No. No, not included.
No, it's not
No,
included.
it's not.
So because of that, an AAS can work now. So an postulate or a theorem AAS, it's work. So can I say now that the triangle wait please. Here, where's my okay. So now these are the triangle. It is P, Q, R, and here it's bracket it with an S. So we said now, before that, we said that an angle P is congruent with an angle Q because it's given. Is it right? Angle now
Yes.
angle PRS is congruent with an angle QRS because of what? Because the bisector
Bisector.
RS cut the angle PRQ. Now, and RS is congruent with an RS because it's because of the reflexive property. So, and we said that by an AAS, I can conclude now that the angle, the triangle PRS is congruent with the triangle SRQ because of AAS. Now, for two triangles that are congruent, can I say that any two pair of elements are congruent too?
Yes, teacher.
Yes.
So, this angle triangle are congruent with this triangle. So because of that, since they are congruent, so each element in this triangle are congruent. So I can conclude now that RQ is congruent with an RP. The line segment of RQ is congruent with an RP because the triangle PRS is congruent with the triangle SRQ. And inside these two congruent triangles, any two pair of sides or angles will be congruent to. Sorry, any two pair of corresponding sides will be congruent. Is it clear now?
Yes, teacher.
Okay.
Yes, miss.
Yes, teacher.
Now, let's do problem 1. In this one here, look at these triangles here. This has triangle, and inside it we have another triangle. Now, is AB, side AB, is congruent with CB? AB is congruent with CB?
Yes, because of the opposite angles.
Thank you. Yes, because the opposite angles A and C are congruent. Since the angle A is congruent with an angle C, so because of the converse theorem, okay, I can conclude that an AB is congruent with CB. Is it clear?
Yes.
This
Yes,
Again?
teacher.
This
Yes,
side.
teacher.
Can I say that these two sides are congruent?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, because of what? Why are they? Can I say that? Why can I? Or why can I say? Why I can say that they are congruent?
Because of the
It reflects.
opposite angle.
Because look at this side here. I want you now to look at this one, the yellow one. Look at here. It has this.
It has an angle, equal angles.
It has an angle. This side. Okay. Here, if you look at this side,
Equal angles, equal
has,
sides.
yes, here it has an angle. And this side, it has this angle. And since these two angles are congruent, so I can conclude now an AB is congruent with CB. The first question. The second one, can I say now an angle A can I say now that an angle A is congruent with an angle DEA? Can I say that now these two angles are congruent? Yes, grade 8.
Yes, teacher. Yes,
Why?
Yes, teacher.
Yes. Yes, miss.
Congruent lines and then angles.
Because since now a side AD is congruent with the side DE, since these two sides are congruent, so an angle A is congruent with an angle DEA because of the theorem 4-3. In 4-3, we say that if two sides are congruent, so its opposite angles will be congruent too. What are the opposite angles here? It is an angle A and an angle DEA. Since now their sides are congruent, so the angles will be congruent too. Is it clear now?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, miss.
Okay,
Yes,
now the
teacher.
period is stopped. The period is finished. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will continue our lesson. Thank you for listening. Do you have any question?
No, thank you,
No,
miss, so
thank you,
much.
teacher.
Thank you.
No, thank you,
Bye,
miss.
teacher. Bye.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.